A very warm welcome to my garden vlog. Now this is partly allotment, partly garden, because yesterday I went to the allotment and I did a really big harvest. I haven't been for 10 days. I have been doing a huge decorating job in my little boy's room, which is still not finished because I've had a few issues to say the least. And I've got to wait 3 weeks for a plasterer to come and fix a certain part of the wall that has completely blown. Now, if you know, you know. So, with that being said, it's freed up today. Let me just move my diary. And I have a huge box here and some bits that are already in the fridge that I harvested yesterday, like I said. So I took time out yesterday, an hour and a half, to go to the plot to harvest, prune back anything and get rid of some mouldy leaves off of the pumpkins. But yeah, so everything has to be harvested because I'm going on holiday for a few days to London. Now London is our favourite place to go because there's always so much to do. We do end up coming back absolutely knackered, but it's still the summer holidays here, so I will have time to rest at some point. I will find a day to rest. Now I've already been on it today. I've ordered seeds for next season. I've specifically written a list from recommendations for certain seeds that I think I would like to grow for next year. There's only one so far that I can't get hold of, and I will pop it on the screen now. That's the only one I can't get hold of unless I want to pay £15 for postage and packaging, which is mad. If there are any of my American subscribers on here who have those seeds spare and would like to send them to me as a gesture of goodwill, and please pop a comment in and I will contact you on how to do so. So let's crack on straight away, because all of this has to be processed today as well. So you'll be seeing something a little bit different, not just harvesting from the garden, but because I've got lots of jalapenos, so I'm going to make cowboy candy, but I've got a lot of food that has to be processed and put in the freezer with very minimal room in the freezer. So vacuum sealing it and roasting everything down to make it as small as possible. However, these tomatoes I will just be putting in as is, and that is going to take up a lot of room in the freezer. Right. So because our beans didn't do very well this year, we had that really nice spell early spring where it was a little bit damp. So I put the beans in because I had them grown in the greenhouse, so they were ready to go in. And then we went straight into extreme heat. So my beans did not climb. I think 2 out of 12 beans climbed. And so I kind of just went with, you know what, we're not really going to get a harvest of beans, so I will grow bush beans, which I am doing currently, and I'll just leave them to let them dry, leave them to the birds, because I know I can get beans later on with the bush beans. So I have got, Joshua nicely labelled for me yesterday, so the blue lake French beans, these are an F1. So these have already dried on the pods. Let me show you. So these have already dried. So obviously I don't need to process these, but what I do need to do is just write a little bit more clearly on a sticker on the bag and pop them into a shoebox, into a dry area, ready for next season. And I will try these again. But all of these things need to be done because everything needs to be put away before it's no good, before it starts to mould, in case it gets damp. We're getting a lot of rain on and off now, from having no rain for just over 8 weeks to now having rain almost on a daily basis. Not enough to do anything great, but everything is looking a little bit more green than what it was. So that's one. And I've got purple French beans. Okay. So anything I need to process, different pile. So that is what Joshua has been growing. In here, I had a potato south seed. I pulled that out yesterday. That's the potatoes, and they do actually have scab. Okay, that's what I got from whatever went into a bed, which is nothing really, but I will peel these and Joshua will have these for his lunch because he liked the idea of that. And then just some broccoli. So I took the broccoli head off and some shoots have come up, so I've got a little bit of that as well. Nothing goes to waste, you know. That alone with a piece of chicken is a meal, you know. Don't waste anything as small as it is. And then I have got Let's move that out of the way. Some cylindrical beets. So I didn't grow bolt hardy this year like I normally do. Big mistake. I have got, let's have a look, let's get them all out so they're all together. Okay, I have got some of the cylindrical ones, which are nothing much, but that is enough to do one jar. I also think I've got some in the garden, so I'm hoping I can get either 2 small or 1 big jar with these beets. I've really missed having beets this season. That is a really big mistake of mine, not to have beets. I should have stuck to what I know. I also have lots of poppy seeds. So when the poppies were pulled up, I kept these at the allotment to dry off. You can see most of the seeds have come out. Now these aren't the eating type of seeds, which is a shame because I'm learning how to do sourdough at the moment. These are just the standard red poppies. So the plan was Joshua and I were going to go around the local areas where I live, and in any borders and things like that where there's nettles and things like that, we are going to be putting some of these in. We've got quite a few bushes out the front of our property, and we're going to sprinkle some of these seeds in as well to get these pretty much everywhere. So I will still keep these at the allotment, but they will self-seed at the allotment, so I don't need to use these seeds, and I will pop them into a little container. So that's another dried one. Now courgettes. I love courgettes, but I don't love courgettes enough to warrant the amount of courgettes that I have. So, and these I won't be growing again either. So these are the patty pans. They just got really fat. They didn't really get shape to them. Now I've left these ones for 3 weeks and they just haven't got any bigger, and more has now produced on the plant, so I thought I'm just going to take them off. So I won't grow these again. I always like to grow yellow because yellow is definitely more prolific. Out of all of the courgettes I've grown, the yellow ones, I've had triple the amount of yellow to any other colour. But yeah, disappointed with these. I grew these more as a lovely vegetable to grow. That's a fantastic shape, and it's supposed to be slightly more tender. These I don't know if it's because of not having rain, but these are not tender. I could kill somebody with these. So I have these 2. I already have 2 in the house as well. But not just them. I also have these 2. A funny shape, this one, it looks like a crook neck, but it isn't. It's supposed to be like this, and then this one's got a funny shape to it. If I can put my hand behind it there, it's got a little bit of a waistline. So I also have these. So the plan for the courgettes is to chop them all up into chunks, any of the bigger ones, get rid of the seeds, roast them all with a little bit of stock, salt and pepper, and then wait for them to cool down and freeze them, and then I can use them in soups and stews. And then I have beans. So I did end up having beans. So these are the cobra beans. As you can see, they are nowhere near as long as they should be, but they are just starting to turn. So I have these. I have this huge bag. It's ripping. Oh, and I have this huge bag. And I've only got 4 plants, and I've managed to get this just from the last week of having the little bit of rain that we ever had. So these I'm going to pop into jars. I prefer my beans in jars and then just cooking them straight from the jar, and I always add a little bit of lemon juice to mine when I process it. They don't really keep their colour, but then I find unless you cook them fresh, they don't anyway. But I actually really like the taste of them like that. I watched a YouTuber that did it, and because I was freezing them, and I'm not a big fan of once you freeze them. I find them, they get a bit stringy. So that is what I'm going to be doing with these. I'm hoping I've got enough jars. And, more of the purple beans. I will do the same with the purple beans, only the purple beans don't keep their colour. And then one of my pumpkin plants died. So this is the goosebump pumpkin. You can just start to see, I'm starting to get a few little bumps on it now. Maybe you can't see, but yeah. So I had to take this off. As you can see, this stem is completely dead. The plant had died. The stem had slightly come out of the ground, and with all the heat that we had, it just killed it off completely. So it didn't have enough time to root, even though I was watering it a lot. The other 3 that I have got on the archway are absolutely fine, but this one just didn't. It just produced this one fruit, and I thought, oh, it's fine. 10 days later, the whole plant is completely dead. So I've pulled the plant out now. Lucky enough, the one next to it is just thriving. I mean, it's spectacular. It really is, and it's already got 2 pumpkins on it. So I thought, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to let it cure. If it cures, fantastic. I can use it for a decoration. If it doesn't, it can just go in the compost. So that's what I've got that. And so I don't really have to do anything with that one. Okay. And then I have got, oh, they were all falling out. My tomato harvest at the allotment. Now, considering the plants looked half dead 2 weeks ago, but I've had my mum on the job watering every single day to try and get the moisture back into that soil, because it was so hydrophobic I couldn't even put a stick in the ground. So because we didn't have that rain and we'd had no water at the allotment, all of these have got blossom end rot. So I will be cutting them off and then freezing them, so I don't need to put a cross in the bottom. I will literally just cut off the stalks and cut off the ends, and I will freeze them as they are to roast at a later date. And then we've got this huge one here, and all of these are absolutely fine. So some of these are big mamas, some of these are Amish paste, the yellow pear, the black plum. Yes, I think that's all that's in here. Yeah, so I will be adding these alongside all of these, and because I'm not going to be here to munch on them, they will all get frozen and then used as a pasta sauce. I will make my own curry sauces, I will make my own pizza sauces, and also make my own ketchups and barbecue sauce with all of these tomatoes. I will have at least 2 more big harvests of tomatoes before the season is over. Talking about tomatoes in this vlog, I will also be getting rid of my green zebras. Now, I bought the green zebra from a supermarket. No, it wasn't, it was a garden centre, and I just like the idea of a green zebra tomato. They were supposed to be quite zingy, and I planted it, and it's supposed to be like a salad tomato, a little bit smaller than a salad tomato. They are tiny, they're smaller than a tumbling tom tomato, and they don't taste very good. They're zingy a little bit, but they don't produce. I mean, I've had no more than 10 off each plant. So I say each plant, I snapped a piece off by accident and then replanted that, and that rooted lovely. I've got 2 of them. I'm really not getting anything off of it, so it's taking up space and water unnecessarily, and I can put something else in that sunny spot, which is what I'm going to do, and into the greenhouse as well. So they are also coming out today, and I'm just going to pop them all into the compost bin. I will harvest anything that I can harvest from them, but yeah, they tend to split. Even like before we get any rain, they split before we even have the chance to eat them. Well, I'm the only one that eats tomatoes, and yes, I have an abundance, I'm aware, but I like to make my own sauces. I've already canned a lot of cherry tomatoes to use in dishes, but these will be used for the winter, and I will not do anything with these until the summer season is over, because it's so busy and everyone's like, ugh. I mean, you've seen what I've got to do today. That is what's going to happen in this vlog. How much of it you'll see, I do not know, but that is my plan. I will just go in and out on bits and pieces, because you're not going to need to see me food process everything, and so I'll do just snippets and bits and pieces. But for now, I need my morning nettle tea, because I haven't had it yet. I've just had a normal cup of tea. So as soon as this has been drunk, I will get processing. So thank you very much. If you haven't seen my vlogs before, my name is Claire, and I have a garden and an allotment plot in Wiltshire. It's a double plot, and yeah, you get a bit of everything with me. You definitely get a bit of everything, including today with paint still in my hair, paint splotches on my face. I broke my glasses 2 days ago, so I haven't got them fixed before I go away, so I need to get them. So that might just be my spare pair, because I can't imagine I've got time to go to the opticians. So yeah, I like to give myself lots to do. I like a challenge. I like to keep busy. I thought it would be nice just to pop in what I filmed of me doing that huge tomato harvest of the basket you saw next to me in the first part of this vlog. It took longer than what I thought, hence why I've sped it up. but there were a lot, and it was very difficult getting in and around all of the branches because early on in the season we had a really heavy wind, and a lot of the tomato plants had tangled in and around each other. So if you follow the stem up, it doesn't go all the way up. And although I had everything on string, everything had just blown in every direction, and I didn't want to break any parts of the plants. So I let them just grow as one huge bush. So the bottom has lots of airflow, but from the middle up just looks like a huge tomato bush. Like it really does. It looks really nice, but not a lot of light is coming through. So what I did after this vlog is I went outside and I cut back as much as I possibly could, allowing light through from the front and the back because of the way that the sun comes around in my garden. Now the tomatoes on both sides will be getting sun all day long. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is the beans. So I'm going to top and tail and snap them. All that beans come straight out. Top. You don't have to top and tail your beans. You can keep one end on if you wanted to. I don't like to. That one's not very good. And that's the other thing I do is when you go through them like this, just double check that everything is as it should be. I've got my pot there. So that is all the beans snapped. I think I can probably do 3 jars from that one. I don't do very big jars because I'm really the only one that likes these, so I will do more portion control size jars with these. Now I am going to get the liquid on. As you can see, I've got my water bath canner on, so I need to definitely get my liquid on next, ready for when that starts to boil. Okay, so with a clean jar, all sterilised, and the beans, I pop the beans in. I pack them as tightly as I possibly can. Okay, so this is not a USDA approved recipe. I use a lot of make it make recipe. So I will fill this jar completely up, and then I will add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and a ½ teaspoon of salt. These are the pint jars. I will then add room temperature water and pop them in the canner, as the canner is nice and warm at the moment, so it's not hot, it's just warm. I will pop these in. As soon as it comes to a rolling boil, I will then process these for 2 hours. Okay, so I have now put them into my canner. They're not at a rolling boil yet, but it's definitely starting to heat up. So I have got 4 jars there. And I am just vacuum sealing whatever I have left over to pop into the freezer. And with this is like 2 portions, so when I do a small roast I can use these. Okay, so what I do with anything that goes in the freezer, I write the date that I've prepared them to go into the freezer, what they are and what I'm going to use them for. So on here I popped roast. Off camera I cut up the courgettes. You didn't need to see that, you know how to cut a courgette. All the seeded areas I always take off. I will compost them, mainly because it's just not nice it's not a nice texture. So I have my olive oil here, and I'm going to pour my olive oil just over the top. Okay, you don't need too much because obviously there's a lot of natural water in courgettes. Okay, so what you can see on here: black pepper, salt and garlic powder. That is my favourite things to put onto courgettes. Now I've got the oven on as hot as possible, and they will be going in for 15 minutes, and then I'll just swap them over so then the bottom tray gets to go in onto the top just to give it that nice caramelization. And then I will leave them in there just until you can see that slightly caramelized look to them, and then I will take them out to cool. So I've just put my timer on for my green beans, so that gives me 2 hours before the canner's free again to do the beets and the pickles. So the next hour and a half I am going to be processing all of the tomatoes. Like I said, with these I just take the end off and take the tip off here. So now it's time for all the big ones. So these are the ox hearts, these are the Amish paste and the Big Mama. That's what I've got so far. This is my first big harvest of these. I just think they're beautiful. You know, taste wise, are they strong? Not particularly. I mean, this one has gone all red. My favourite one though, let me show you, it's probably this side of this one, how it changes. That's probably my favourite one so far. My husband thinks that looks like a bum. So it's now time to get these processed. I'm going to score the bottom, pop them into the bag. My bowl of tomato scraps ready for the compost. It will give it some great nitrogen. And my bags of tomatoes. I kept them all together, dated, and wrote on them what they are going to be for, and that is canning.
Won't steam up, but that's where I like to take them to.
Off, so I've let them cool down a little
slightly
bit in the oven,
roasted. So now what I will do is I will take them out and leave them to cool on the side.
And that's what I mean by the
and then once they've cooled, I will pop them into freezer bags, vacuum seal them. Vacuum seal bags.
It's time to pick those cucumbers ready for pickling. I left them on the vine for as long as I possibly could because I wanted them as crunchy as possible. This variety is absolutely fantastic. It's something that I will definitely grow again because they are so super crunchy. They're not nice to eat fresh, but in pickling, with the moisture that they retain during the process, it still leaves the skin nice and crunchy. And I do like a bit of a bite to my pickles. As you know, I'm always complaining about how small my kitchen is. So I don't really have a lot of room right now, so I'm going to be going back and forth. So the idea is I'm going to cut the cucumbers lengthways. Let me get one for you. So all the way down lengthways. I'm going to scoop out some of the seeds because I want them crunchy, and then cut them into chunks before I pickle them. And I will bring you back in for the pickling vinegar so you can see how I do that. All different colours, all different shapes and sizes. So I'm going to trim all of these out here. Okay, so my pickling vinegar that I do isn't from a recipe, but it's the flavour that I like. So I don't like my pickling vinegar super intense, but I also don't like it super sweet. So I do the two methods. So 2 cups of water, 2 cups of white vinegar. I do 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I do 2 teaspoons of salt. Onto the beets. What I do is I make sure there's an inch of the tops still on. I pop them into the pressure cooker for 25 minutes, take them out, the peel comes straight off, top and tail them and cube them. So that is the beans out. I did add vinegar to the water, but clearly not enough, so I'll have to re-wipe those jars over. But that's 4 jars out. Then it was the pickles in next. I did 4 jars of pickles, but the other jar was taking so long because I ran out of liquid. I thought I'm just going to crack these ones in first, and then when I put my beets in, add one of the other pickles to it and do it that way. The courgette is all cooled down, and I have put them in vacuum seal bags per portion. So each one of these will go into a soup or a stew, or I will add it to a stock just to thicken a stock. Okay, so next to me are the green zebra plants. A smaller one here, so this is the part that I broke off and rooted really, really well, so I was really happy. And this huge one here that I've had in the greenhouse. Now this one's massive, but if I just break off some of the fruit here and show you. So this is literally as good as it gets. So as it is a green variety, you can't tell to see if it's ripe, so you just have to give it a little squeeze. They do go a little bit more yellow when they are done. So what I'm going to do is harvest all the fruit into a bowl, then go through it, see what's good, what's not, just leave it on the table for the birds and everything else to peck at. Okay, so let's get all the fruit off. So this is everything I've got so far. There are a couple of cayennes in there. This is the jalapenos. And I've got a few cayennes that were ready, so I thought I would pop them in for a pop of colour. And then I've got these chilies, and I cannot remember what these ones are called. But these ones are turning a different colour now. And I thought if I do all of them in one go, then I should have enough to make at least 2 jars of cowboy candy. And then here's the tomatoes. So you can see the difference between the yellow and the very green ones. So I'll just let these ripen in the bowl, and when I come back, hopefully they will be ready for me. I've got all my ingredients ready, so it should be garlic powder. I've got granules, but it's fine. Sugar, turmeric, cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar, sorry. I haven't got any celery seeds, so I'm going to use celery salt. However, I'm only going to use a quarter of the amount, so half normally, but I know garlic's quite salty, so I'm only going to use a quarter of the amount. And obviously I've got all of my chilies here, and I have the most important thing is gloves, so I've got that on as well. So what I'm going to do is chop them all. As you can see, it's brought to boiling point. I've just tipped all of the peppers in there. Most of the seeds are out. I'd say 2/3 of the seeds are out, but I have left some in, not for spice, purely because the syrup was boiling and I was running out of time to add them. So now I'm going to simmer this, mix it all together, simmer it for 4 to 5 minutes on a slightly lower heat. So that's after 4 to 5 minutes. The chilies lost their colour really quickly. So there it is. 2 full ones and 2/3 of the way. So clean the rims, pop the lids on. So these will be stored in the fridge. I'm not canning these because I don't know if I like them. So these will be stored in the fridge. If I like them, then I will hopefully get to make more, and I will can those to have at the start of the spring season when peppers aren't about. Now we are on to the last job, and that is the hanging baskets. Now I probably could keep these going for at least another 2 to 3 weeks, especially with the flowers that were pretty much okay. However, I was not keeping up with the watering. So these needed watering twice a day, and I reduced it down to once a day, and they just weren't very happy. And where they were so high up, I was struggling to water them without the leaves getting wet. So they started to look a little bit damaged. So I thought, I've got so many tomatoes already. Let's give myself one less job to do, and one less job for Shannon to do while I was away. After tugging away at everything and realising how dry and stuck in there it was, I decided to put both of the contents of the hanging baskets into the compost bin. I then got my fork to it and gave it a really, really good stabbing. And that can just then mix in with the compost that I'm making. I don't do that very often. I like to reuse the soil as much as possible, but sometimes it's just not worth the effort, and it's not like I'm not going to get it back. It's just going to get filled with nourishment in the compost bin to use next year. That is all of my jobs done today. I have got a water. I don't need to bring you along for that. I think you know after the hot summer that we've had how much watering takes place and how boring it is. So yeah, so that is it for me for this week. Thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't already subscribed, please press that button if you would like to see more of my content. Like, share, comment, and I will see you all very soon.